What's up guys, Coach Morley here and welcome to a sit down with Coach. I've recently had the opportunity to sit down with a number of different players of mine that I've been working with for at least 2 years and to tell their story and have a chat with them about some of the obstacles, some of the people that have helped along the way, and just to really understand what they've been through recently, and especially with COVID happening. So I hope you enjoy. Welcome to a sit down with Coach. Let's get into it. What's up guys, it's Coach Morley here. I'm sitting down with one of my athletes, Tyson. We're just going to go over and look at his story so far, what he's currently doing as an athlete, as a student, and as a person in the rest of your life as well, and what your plans are for the future. So first of all, Tyson, welcome.
Thank you. Just
tell me a little bit about you and your journey that's got you to where you are right now.
Right now. First of all, obviously, thank you for having me. Well, I guess I started as just every most young basketball players start pretty young. I probably started around about 6 years old. I always had a basketball in my hand since I was a kid, of course. But growing up in my sort of family, basketball was considered unrealistic to make it to the top sort of thing. My family was more so along the get a good course in uni, become a doctor, lawyer, etc. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Whereas my brain, my heart was always for basketball, and it's never changed. It's never been any different. So over the years, obviously, I haven't played any wobble or SBO or anything. I've just played at local clubs and trained with locals around Perth and stuff like that. So haven't really been associated with any big clubs as of yet. But I guess obviously the farm, going through there as well was a big role of my career as well, and a few other comps like the ABA, UBL, etc. So those little things obviously added up. Bit of experience, and now I'm coaching the under 12s boys Warwick Senators, assistant coach. So that's a big step up as well. It's an experience for myself. So instead of actually like playing, I'm actually coaching the game as well, which is pretty cool. And to where I am now, just obviously trying to stay healthy and do everything the right way. And obviously I had a lot of injuries in the past as well, which I'm sure we can cover as well. So
it's interesting, man. You've taken, and we'll get back to the injuries in a little bit, but you've taken a bit of a different pathway to than most kids take here in Perth, in terms of your development as a teenager through the sport, as in you didn't get involved in the wobble system. You're not alone in that.
Yeah, of course.
We know, and we come to realise with a lot of the kids we meet. But it's always interesting to me, were you not good enough to make it into a wobble team, or did the concept of it not interest you, or what was it that kept you from going down into that system, that pathway that is the general development pathway here in Perth?
Wouldn't say I wasn't good enough. Definitely good enough. I think that's where the problem is. Was that like a lot of, I'm not trying to like dig at the system or anything like that, but a lot of the way that it's run, I guess, over here in Australia as a whole, but also like wobble especially, when it comes to development, like a lot of, not all coaches, but a lot of coaches tend to worry more about winning games rather than developing their players, and actually getting to know their players, getting to know their weaknesses and their strengths, rather than, for example, with the tryouts. They're bringing tryouts in and they put everyone through these drills, but they just see who can, get the most baskets and who can, show out on the court a lot more, rather than seeing what sort of things people can actually be good at, Whereas in a lot of other countries, if you go for a tryout, a lot of coaches will see that if this guy's not good of a passer, they can still work on that, but he's got really good court vision, or He's pretty quick. We can get him to be like one of the quickest people in the court, and run the ball when we need to. Little things like that, but a lot of coaches here miss out. Whereas for myself, I was one of the quickest kids in high school, in primary school.
That does not surprise me at all.
Exactly. So I beat at East Perth when I was trying out for the 16s. I actually beat the whole club's suicide record. So that's including all the SBL players and everything. And I beat that record, and I didn't make the team. I was the quickest in the team. I was able to dunk at 16. I was able to do everything. And just because I was the tallest, they wanted to play me as a big man, play me as a 5, and basically do nothing. So it was just stunting my growth as per se. So I was just like, try to find a different way. Maybe there's another club that I can go to, but then that also didn't really work out. But then at the time of the tryouts, I also had to go to Portugal for a funeral. So by the time I came back, it was already taken anyway. So yeah, and then from there, I loved footy as well. Footy was a big sport for me. Yeah, AFL. So I was quite invested in that. So I ended up stopping basketball for a while and playing footy for about 3-4 years. And then came back to basketball.
Come back strong.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting, especially the way you talk about the fact that you go to a tryout and you're based on your execution of a drill as opposed to the little intricacies that happen in the game of basketball that actually make the big difference between winning and losing. It's not the first time I've heard that. Definitely won't be the last time I've heard that.
People get paid millions of dollars to play 2 minutes.
Yes, just make 1 or 2 shots and they're happy. Here's your $1 million paycheck. It's good. So that, not going through that system, that's led you obviously to find other avenues in which to develop yourself as an athlete and as a player, but also to play. Because at the end of the day, we want to get on the court, we want to play as a basketball player. So you mentioned a couple of different leagues, I guess, that you've competed in, especially over the last 12 to 18 months with the Underground Basketball League and the AUBA. What sort of things enabled you to go and be able to play in those tournaments as opposed to competing in wobble competitions and dealing with tryouts and the coaches and stuff? What was different with these other competitions?
Well, both AUBA and UBL, obviously there were no coaches, which is one big thing. Obviously, AUBA, you could nominate your own teams, but the way that the league was set up was that there were obviously a lot of SBL players coming through, and players that, not a lot of SBL, but some, and there were players that quite experienced as well. So you did want to sort of make sure that you have a sort of decent team to get through, because obviously there was a big prize at the end as well. A bit of cash up. So I'm pretty sure it was a few $1,000s, so which is pretty cool. And at UBL, obviously no coaches, obviously no cash reward, but the whole concept of having obviously film, being able to watch your film after every game, the whole thing, and having that exclusive for us players as well. But then also you're getting the exposure as well. Obviously you've got the whole social media, you've got highlight videos, you've got all these things that are boosting up, I guess, players' confidence as well, to get out there and do better the next week. And unfortunately for me, obviously, I was going through injuries at that time, and there were good times and there were the bad times as well. But it was good to be in that sort of environment where everyone was very passionate about basketball, even though they're not playing, Wobble, State or SBL, So that was a good thing about that, because I guess everyone's sort of on the same wavelength and they're here to still play basketball.
Yeah, it's good. It's different. It's interesting to see what happens when the control of a coach trying to run the X's and O's and control the flow of the game disappears, and these players, some that have played within that wobble system, some that haven't, just get freedom on the court. But in a very competitive environment and especially with the exposure. For people that don't know, both the AUBA and the Underground Basketball League, every game is filmed, edited and uploaded onto YouTube, highlight tapes for players and for teams, and it's known that coaches in America and around the world see these highlight tapes. Players, along with Aussie prospects, these platforms are allowing people to have a big boost in their social media presence, and to get noticed, and then eventually the dream is to get picked up by either a college or the opportunity to go pro somewhere, which is good. So that social media becomes quite important. You've mentioned a few times about injuries that have had different effects on your progression as an athlete and as a person. In the 2 years that I've known you, you've been through a couple. Take us through what the last year has looked like in terms of what your body's been through and what you're going through now.
So originally I was having like a lot of problems with my knees, and that was just a constant thing. I was hyperextending them. Originally I dislocated one of them, and tendonitis in both knees. It was just up and down. I never really figured out what was wrong, and I thought it was, or maybe just not strengthening my legs enough, just not working out enough in the gym, or maybe I'm just not doing something right. And obviously going through the farm, I had Jordan Glossop, yourself and Trav, obviously able to help me and give me advice as well along the way. And a lot of it worked. It improved it, but it didn't last. And something wasn't right. It just didn't make sense. So once obviously coronavirus became a big thing and everything shut down, and I was back at work, I was no longer studying and playing ball. So I basically wasn't playing ball for maybe since
4 or 5 months or so.
Maybe even
lockdown.
About that 4 or 5 months. And through that time, I guess I was able to give my body some time to rest. And then once my body was rested, I was able to see what parts of my body needed fixing because they were still uncomfortable even though I was rested. So I could still feel imperfections within just the whole left side of my body, and then it's always been my left side of my body, my hand coordination, all the nerves, all not working properly.
You're right-handed, right?
Yeah, I'm right-handed.
You're right-handed, okay.
So my development with my left side of my body has been very slow as well. And I've been going to chiros and I've been going to physios and getting x-rays here and there. Chiros in the past haven't been able to figure out. They've seen that I've had a curve in the top of my spine. But they never really went further on it. They just did adjustments and then sent me home. So I wasn't really giving much of a diagnosis. I didn't know what I was going through. I was just going to the chiro pretty much, and then through COVID, I just saw this one post on Facebook, and it was just this lady in Wellard, this chiropractor in Wellard that was just opening up, and she was doing a free first session sort of thing. And I booked in, it was through Facebook, booked in, went there, and sat me down first and asked me a few questions, and figured out that her brother used to coach the Wildcats, and her brother also used to play with one of my coaches, Glenn Ellis, as well, and Mike Ellis. So that was I guess, really brought more of a welcoming comfort. Okay, so maybe this might give it a bit more hope that
she might have an answer for you.
Yeah, she might have an answer for me. So she was okay, cool. So I know what to look for. And that's where, as soon as she said that, I was okay. So now I actually feel like she's actually going to find something here. So she didn't do anything to me until she got X-rays done and sent back to her, and then she looked it all up, and then the spine. So I got my spine done first, and then she was wondering why the curve was still there after so many years, and then sent me for another X-ray to get my hips and around my pelvis. And then when that came back, it showed that my pelvis was tilted slightly, and then it was also it was tilted down to the left. So my left side is tilted this way like that.
Yeah. So your left hip is lower than your right hip.
Yeah. Okay. And also shadowing. So like this side of the hip is twisted front way. So my left front.
You've got down and a bit of forward rotation.
Yeah.
That way a little bit. Okay.
So when she said that, she was like, okay, so that explains that it's not a scoliosis because the curve's not starting from the bottom, I believe. It's starting from the top, and then that's twisting your hip out. Okay. And I'm not sure if you remember when Brett Zaney came in, and my shoulder's always been out of whack as well, and that's because of that. So now, like before, if I was to lay flat on the floor like that, one shoulder would be completely off the floor. And then now it's completely flat, it's all symmetrical again. And my hips still have a bit of work to do. I've just been getting like a trigger ball in there every few days and just rolling out and trying to just rest is like the biggest thing. I think that was one of the biggest issues, was just not resting. I guess that comes with a bit of ego.
Yeah, a little bit of ego, but it's interesting you say about the rest, because it's an interesting that it's taken quite a few years for that to get diagnosed. It's going to have had a massive effect on the way you move, and especially being on that left side. That's the leg you balance on to kick a ball when you're playing AFL, to jump most of the time, because you jump off one leg, off your left leg. So that's actually because your body alignment's been off, has restricted how much power you can produce, how high you can jump, how fast you can run. Even though you've been one of the fastest and one of the most athletic in your age group most of your childhood. It's interesting to see what will happen next with that progression. So let's come back to present day. You mentioned studying with the farm and doing a sport diploma, but you've now gone on to studying at university. Just tell me a little bit about what you've gone on to study at uni, why you kind of made that decision, and what you're hoping to get out of your time there.
So I'm studying sport, exercise and health science. I later on want to go on and do psychology as well. Obviously psychology is part of sports science as well, but I want to finish that degree eventually too. I guess obviously going through the diploma at the farm, a lot of it obviously learning how to run, I guess, a big group of, how would you put it? I guess facilitating like a larger population.
Larger groups.
Larger groups, right? And that was fun, and that was good for me to learn for myself. Obviously, growing up, I had a lot of social anxiety, so like that was a big way to help me grow through that. But also having coaches like yourself and Glossop especially as well. Obviously on that level of the sports science, obviously you did sports science as well. It's always been an interest, and like I used to say to my parents when I was like, probably since I could remember, I want to do sports science. Just because I remember watching videos and like sports scientists doing like tests on like Cristiano Ronaldo and stuff, and
ESPN Sports Science one.
So like, and that really interests me. So going through the farm and learning so much from Glossop and yourselves and Travis as well, like I guess it opened my scope to how much I can do. And I guess I consider myself as quite advanced for my age, whereas like I feel like I have a lot of capacity to do a lot of things in and around the same time, and do each thing at 100%. And sports science, my goal is to basically go through the whole degree. I guess the way I envisioned it was having a mind like Jordan Glossop.
Yeah.
And also being
it's
a player.
Take more than just a 3-year uni course.
Yeah, of course. And I've just always thought that, like, imagine having, you know, that sort of knowledge about your body and playing professionally, you know, being able to also be a coach and a player at the same time. Like, I guess that's one thing that's really interests me, and like trying to achieve that through obviously studying something that I love as well. So the whole sports science, you know, I enjoy doing it. The study itself doesn't get overwhelming. Other units that aren't really subjected to that can get a little bit overwhelming, but sports science itself, I'm like all over it, and I could go on it for hours and hours and hours.
It's easy to focus in and work hard on stuff that you're passionate about.
Yeah, exactly.
Sports science stuff is obviously something you are passionate about, and you see the benefit of it. One thing that intrigues me about you is how mature you are for your age. Most kids your age haven't been through what you've been through, which everybody has a different story.
Yeah, of course.
But the fact that you're mature enough to realise that I want to go play pro, but that doesn't mean it's going to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's going to be forever.
Yeah.
So yes, that's the goal, but at the same time I've got to have something on the side to go into after, or to support you during.
Yeah.
Because travelling around the world to go to try out for different teams, or even just the amount of investment you have to put into getting your body and your skills and your game up to the level it needs to be to go and play pro, it's not a small investment.
Yeah, no,
and it's very different here to in America, where everything's through school. You get these great coaches in schools, whereas here everything's through clubs.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously there's a number of us that come around and do a lot of other training and stuff with us. I mean, we got a workout this afternoon.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting how you've developed and how you've grown. Talk to me just finally, how you're using this 3-year uni course to, I guess, facilitate your training in a way.
Yeah.
You're using the time around where you're at campus and stuff like that to, I mean, you said something you were doing, like trying to work 16 hours a week of workouts in, which is impressive. It's a lot of working out. Make sure you're still getting that rest, but what's that mean? How do you see that working out over the next 3 years?
So I've basically calculated down to having week on, week off. So having, you know, the 16 hours, just trying to get 16 hours in, even if it's 10 hours in 3 days and 6 hours in the last, you know, 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
Or if it's spread out throughout the whole week. As long as I get through that 16 hours, I just know that, like, going through how much time I need to rest throughout the week, how much time I need to spend eating and stretching, and also having my own social life, and obviously spending time with my son as well. So like that, it works. It basically works perfectly for the way that my course is planned out for me as well.
Yeah.
Obviously with COVID, everything's still online. So I've got about 1 or 2 practical classes, but they're also recorded as well, so you don't have to actually go into them.
Oh, okay. You can just view it all online.
You can view it all online. So for myself, online studies, I find it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because I'm able to pause, and, you know, if I need to replay something and listen to it again, I'm able to really listen to it, and obviously in the comfort of my own home as well.
Yes,
so
that helps.
That takes a lot of, I guess, stress throughout the day. You know, traveling to uni and being in another environment and having to, like, stay motivated and as such. I guess other people are different. Some people wouldn't be able to stay motivated at home, but for me, I can stay a lot more motivated. And then obviously I have my own businesses on the side doing car detailing. I also work for a call centre as well, and also Flow Academy as well, which I'm doing programs here and there. So I guess, like, going through the training, having all that as well, has balanced it out.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not just training.
Yeah, you've kind of
also
got
doing
used,
a lot of other
over
stuff
the
as well.
last 2 years, you've got used to studying, training and playing and working and being a father.
Yeah.
Wearing these 5 different hats within a 24-hour time period, sleeping and waking up and doing it all over again the next day. You've got used to that. So now, rather than just coming out of school and being still in this fresh 17, 18-year-old mindset of what that's like when you get this little bit of freedom at university. I mean, I know it's different here to England where I'm from, but you've taken a couple of gap years from high school to uni, and now I think that's going to pay big dividends in how focused you are and how well you execute on everything you're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. I think we will wrap that up there. That's good. Before we go, you did mention one thing I just want to finish on. Flow Academy.
Yep.
Talk to me about it.
Flow Academy. So Flow Academy stands for Farm, Levitate, Operate, Win. Farm originally, obviously I brought that along from the Farm Athletics, obviously the fundamental athletic reform movement. And obviously farming literally means cultivating in numbers. So that's always been one big thing as a child growing up in little communities like Midland. We only have each other out there. Like it's quite different, like growing up in that sort of environment, like, you know, everyone in that town. Yeah. You know, everyone's basically helping each other there. You know, everyone's paying each other's bills because there's little businesses that we know, you know, like we're all friends. Yeah. Sort of thing. So I guess, exactly what you mean. So I guess that came from the way I grew up. Levitate, obviously rising above, trying to reach, you know, your biggest goals. And even if you don't reach them, just keep going for it. Operate, basically like getting shit done. You know,
get it together again. Make action on what you're saying about.
Exactly right. And then obviously you can win at the end. So it's all a process sort of thing. So flow is obviously it doesn't really mean, like, it doesn't really have I guess a structure. It's still becoming. It's still becoming, exactly. So it's more so of a movement, I guess you can say as well. So as I'm going through my degree and stuff, once I finish that degree, you can imagine how big flow will be by then. So so it's just little baby steps from there.
Baby steps, but it's good, and you've got that there, and it takes time to build those things.
100%.
I know it's taken me. I've been here for 6 years, grinding, trying to get just to where we are now, and we've still got a long way to go. 3 years time, we'll be in a completely different place.
Completely different.
All right. Appreciate you coming through.
I appreciate it.
I look forward to getting on the court later. That's going to be a good workout. We'll get a lot of stuff in on that. I've completely fucked that up. We're going to do that again. Cut.
Yo, this is brilliant. I've been fixated on this though. You need to release this as an audio version as well. I shit you not. This is brilliant, and I hope we're doing another one of these next week or whatever.
Yes, sir.
You need to start doing this every week, bro. This is insane. I've been glued.
Fucking Harry.
I've been seeing it in the corner of my eye. I was like, he's just like, you're just a hawk, You're just a hawk.
I'm like, why? It's insane. Go on.
Alright, literally got the whole way through, fuck up the outro, man. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Good effort.
Oh, I think I hit everything I put down on that list as well.
Bro,
I was quite chuffed as well.
A really good conversation. Like, from a player's perspective, I've never heard a player be asked by a coach any of these questions. Like, ever. But
also his ability to answer the questions.
Yeah, that does happen.
That's one of the reasons Tyson's the first person I wanted to do this with. As kind of a test to see if this works. Because I know his brain.
Yeah.
I've known him for 2 years in the classroom, on the court. I know how he works, how he operates and how he thinks.
Yeah, this is a pod. You need
I know
this
the
is audio as well.
I know the answers to every question I'm asking him because I've been through him with him.
Sorry, outro. Sorry, we'll let you. Yeah, this has been awesome. I've been glued to this.
Sick.
Yeah. Alright. Going on from flow. Alright. So, the flow and what it stands for is awesome. Oh, do you want? Hang on. I'll clap back in.
Yeah, just clap and
just so you know.
Cheers.
Okay, so the Flow Academy sounds awesome. I love that flow is an abbreviation for so much detail in your thought coming into it, but it's also still broad that it can evolve into whatever it wants to evolve in the future as you progress with it. It's great. It leaves you in a really good position having that basic structure there to move forward, and I'm so excited to see what happens with that, especially if we go 3 more years of picking up a lot more knowledge and experience as you go through. Appreciate you for coming down, bro. Just real quick, where can people hit you up on socials?
Instagram. I don't really use Facebook anymore, so Instagram's the way to go. Flow Academy. Shadowline detail as well, if you want to get your car detailed. And then I've also got Everybody's Famous, which is basically like a production, I guess, institution is what I wanted to make. So we don't just do music, don't just do film, we do everything, sort of clothing, we do literally everything. So supporting people that basically, because obviously Everybody's Famous don't have to drive a Bugatti or have a big house to be famous. So
everybody's got a story to tell.
Exactly,
that's why we're here right now.
So stay tuned for that, and also a little YouTube channel that me and a very good friend of mine have, Adam McCormick, which is called Fella Portuguese. Doesn't really mean anything. Doesn't mean nothing, but it also means everything. So you can find us on Instagram as well.
So people know how to spell
it. Yeah, maybe we'll put it here. We'll put it right there. Sick.
That's great.
But
I appreciate the time, bro. We'll be dropping these, and we'll definitely be keeping track of what you're doing. I know we'll be training a whole heap every week as well.
So,
all right, brother. Appreciate it.
Sweet.
Stay safe, and we'll catch you soon. We'll be coming out with a load more interviews and sit downs with multiple athletes all over the city, and who knows eventually where that takes us in the future. These guys have got amazing stories to tell. Even though they're so young, they've been through so much already to this point. It's great to see, it's good to understand, and it's, as a coach, it's the best thing about coaching. Take away the skills, take away the X's and O's, take away the wins and the losses, and the actual court itself. The players are what we invest in as coaches. Basketball is the game, life is the lesson, and that's where we go. Alright, so we'll catch you soon. Until then, it's Coach Morley.
Sweet.
Peace out.